doing, you silly girl? You're gonna get stuck by the cactus. Be careful, baby. Be careful, honey. So these are some of my Texas prickly pear. These things are just everywhere here. And you can see there, oh, I'm standing right in some actually. But they're just making their beautiful fruits. Oh, don't those look lovely? And they're so delicious. Great for making jellies. They're tasty, medicinal, and just wonderful. And they're like a weed here in Northeast Texas. As a matter of fact, they're just scattered all over the place here. Yeah, they're wonderful, and I feel very fortunate that I have them here. And today we're going to make soap with them. That's right. And I'm actually going to use this plant here because the cochineal beetles are starting to attack them. So I want to take this plant first. If you don't know what cochineal beetles are, they like to suck the juices out of cactus. So I'm going to carefully pick these because they're covered in some pretty mean little thorns. And I've chosen this smaller plant here because, well, they're just easier to work with. And I'm not going to butcher the whole plant. I mean, although there are plenty of these around, I do like to kind of spread the love, as it were. What are you doing, you silly girl? Okay. And now, why might Patrick be putting... Hi, Zero. What are you doing here? Everybody's coming to see what I'm doing. They're very nosy. Be careful, baby. You'll get a thorn in your face. Why might I use this in a soap? Well, why do we put aloe vera in soap? The lovely gel that comes from these cactuses, in my opinion and many others, is equal to and even superior in many ways to aloe vera in its cooling, healing abilities. But also, I just love the bubble that it puts in a soap. And someone recently asked me, because they'd seen my video on making this before, and they had asked me some questions about making this kind of soap. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I just remake it? And that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to go collect I've got about a pound, maybe almost a pound. Let me get a little more. Then we're going to go inside and put this together. All right? Terrific. So these are absolutely covered in thorns, and some of them are almost invisible. They're so tiny, and they can get in your fingers. They can get all over you. So you never want to pick them up like this and handle them like I'm doing now. Don't be afraid. It's okay. This one I've already prepared. Let me show you how. So I just pull one out like this, separate from the rest, and then I just burn off the thorns. What's great is this does not harm the inside because I do it very quickly. Just touch on the thorns themselves. And then turn it over and do the same thing to the other side. By torching these off, it makes it much easier to handle, not only to handle them, but also to process and peel them. And that's it. And that's all there is to it. Alright, so I've loaded them up here in the blender now, and I'm going to add a little over a cup of distilled water. And what this is going to do is help to emulsify the cactus into a well, a fine emulsion, which then I'll then strain. Well, you'll see. So let's go ahead and get this beat up. So it's going to get noisy, so I'm going to go ahead and mute. And there we have our cactus, our prickly pear emulsion. Now, if I were going to be eating this, of course I would have peeled the cactus, but we're not eating this. It's going to be part of our soap, part of the color, because this holds its color so very nicely in soap, better than most other botanicals, that it really helps with the color. But it also gives you're going to be just so surprised at how much bubble this adds to our soap. But first we have to strain it. We want to make sure that all the little bits and pieces are strained out as much as possible. All the thorns are gone, so those aren't to worry, or spines is really what they are, not thorns. I tend to use those words interchangeably. But so there we have it. So I'm going to get this strained, and then we're going to put this soap together. So this is a slow process because the cactus, much like aloe vera, is full of a gel, and that's not tasty for eating, and that's why there's a specific process you go through for cooking nopales or cactus, prickly pears, whatever name you may have for it. This is wonderful for soap. And so if you have these wonderful plants growing near you, take advantage of them. Do know what you're using. There are some cacti, excuse me, that do have allergens in them, and just know what you're dealing with. Do your research. Something someone else told me recently was that they use Google Lens for identifying plants. I'm not going to say that you may not find some good information that way, but there's a lot more incorrect information. I tried it on a few plants that I've identified using plant keys. There are specific books that are written that tell you all the various things you look for, as far as how many petals and sepals and various different things that you look at to identify a plant. And sometimes the apps that are out there don't do as good a job at that yet. I'm not going to suggest that they won't at some point. I think the machines will outsmart us in the very near future. But I'm just saying, do your research. You're probably going to find sometimes, even if you use those apps, that they will name several different options because they're unsure. And that could be, sometimes it's at the fault of the photographer. You know, maybe the picture doesn't have enough of the leaves or enough of the flower or the fruit of the plant or something else, or there are other plants that could be in the picture that confuse things. And gosh, I'm still a book person, and I'm not going to suggest that there aren't websites that may have some good information. There are a few out there. The U.S. government actually has some really good things through the USDA that can help you to identify particular plants. But I guess my point is, when using something like Google Lens or PlantNet or any of those things, do your due diligence, okay? I just wouldn't want you to eat something poison or to get something that would harm you or your family members. Oh yeah, that's looking great. That is looking fantastic. So I'm just gonna scrape this a bit longer here. All right, so we have our frozen cactus here, and we're now going to go ahead and start getting it ready for our soap by adding the lye solution. The viscosity really made this a bit of a challenge, but as you can see, it was pourable. The trick was getting the alkanet root mixed in with that very thick batter. And because it was so viscous, even though I held it up really high, it only submerged down a little over an inch, which gave it a more of a novel look, but the color stayed concentrated and darker near the top, where it would have been lighter and more varied had it sunk deeper. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, it's a little darker on top than I would have chosen, but sometimes these kind of little changes make it something new and we all need a little bit of variation and surprise in our life, don't we? Dougie's barking at something outside. Sorry about that noise. But I had a lot of fun putting it together, and it smells wonderful. That lavender essential oil just really comes through. And kind of the darker purple color lends itself to lavender. So I can almost pretend that it was intentional. So I'm slowly restoring my stock, and I'm getting there. Still have a long way to go, but that was the whole purpose of pushing to get rid of all the 2022 soap. And a big part of my day has been sleeping recently. And that's not an exaggeration. I've been catching up, which you can't really do, but I'm still trying to figure out a work schedule. When I had my 9-to-5 job, which was never a 9-to-5 job, I didn't get off until very late at night, and so trying to rearrange my schedule and get back into a normal mindset is taking a bit more time than I'd anticipated. So I'm not getting as much done as I hoped I would get done, but I'm taking it a day at a time. A big part of this is still investing time in me. I take walks every day. Matter of fact, Barry and I went through the woods today and made some fun little discoveries, and Doug as well. And matter of fact, I'll show you a little video of some visit Barry, Dougie, and I had with some of the newer baby goats born in the last week or so. And it's been a lot of fun trying to figure out how I'm filling my days. In the past, I had a job, and then I had this, the soap making and other things. That was the diversion. But now the diversion is my job. It's kind of hard to get in that mindset that you need to treat this like a job. You need to invest the same amount of time and effort into this as you would a job. So that also takes some of the pleasure away, because it's no longer just that fun diversion from my job, but it is my job. And so it's taking some time to rearrange my way of thinking and rearrange my efforts. But that is part of the challenge of life, isn't it? Things change, and we need to change. So, hope you enjoyed this, everyone. It was wonderful visiting with you. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Goodbye.